Hi everyone, my name is MaryBeth Maskovas, and I'm the Principal Analytics Consultant at Insight Lime Analytics. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about GA4 and the opportunities it provides your organization. I'm going to walk through this blog, which we'll have a link to in this video, about what really it means now that you've finished your GA4 migration, hopefully, as an organization, since as of July, Universal Analytics is no longer available. And I think the most important topic here that I don't see a lot of people talking about yet is now what? You've done this migration. Doing a tool migration is always difficult. It requires quite a lot of resources, and it's sometimes difficult to see the return on investment on a project like that, especially in this case where it wasn't necessarily something that you chose. So GA4 is obviously different from its predecessor, but how will you be different this time around? If you take a look at these quick tips, you can find out how to do a lot of good things for your organization and hopefully get some more trust into data. So the first thing that I want to talk about is discrepancy audits and data discrepancy one sheets. So this is a concept that we use a lot at Insight Lime, and it's taking a really good deep look into your digital analytics platform and your finance data and doing an honest look about what the discrepancies are there. And I won't tell you that they're going to be zero. In fact, standard discrepancies in things like revenue between finance data and digital analytics data can be as high as 15 to 30%, depending on your industry. And that's acceptable because there's things that don't get factored into digital analytics data, such as returns and taxes, depending on how you've set up your implementation and your industry. So what the discrepancy audit does is looks at that finance data, and also it gives you some time to really look back at Universal Analytics and compare it to GA4. What's different? Is it different for the right reasons? Is it different because GA4 actually has some measurement differences, or is there something that got lost when you're implementing that needs to be double checked? So that gives you a really thorough base to do some fixes to the implementation if needed. And then what comes out of that is a discrepancy one sheet once you've made the changes you need to. And what's so important about this one sheet is that it's something that you can share across the organization anytime someone has a question about the quality of data. You can say, hey, we audited this at this time. We also audit every quarter or once a year or whatever is appropriate for your business. Here's the difference between these platforms, and here's the recommended platform to use depending on the analysis you're going to do. Solves a lot of heartache across organizations, gives you something that's really easy to reference, and also gives some accountability to what you're doing ongoing to improve data quality. The next thing is, I might have hinted at a little bit here, is communicating the changes. I guarantee you that there's someone in your organization who used Universal Analytics who doesn't necessarily know that there's been this big change. In big organizations that we work with, I see this all the time where someone is asking about the changes or worrying about reports not being updated. Having a comprehensive communication plan that you planned ahead of time is the ideal. Sometimes that doesn't happen. I'm not going to blame anyone in that case. There's a lot of moving parts in big companies. So moving through and communicating that you're changing, and take advantage of a lot of different meetings to make sure that it's not like an extra lift for you to do this. You can announce it at an all hands meeting. You could organize an information sharing session. You can invite key stakeholders to a GA4 training if you're working with a partner like Insight Lime who provides those sorts of trainings. And what that does is lets everybody know that, yes, we've changed. Yes, we're going to need to update additional reports, and there's going to be a learning curve here. But this is why we made that decision to keep on Google Analytics versus switching, or if you are one of the companies that chose to switch to a different tool, to communicate your reasoning. I hinted at this part a little bit too, but the other thing that you'll really need to talk about and think about is updating data schemas if you're connecting your Google Analytics data to other databases and other reporting. Think about any dashboard that you may have currently. You're going to need to make sure that you update the data connections from Universal Analytics to GA4 as quickly as possible. Hopefully some of that has already happened for you, but if it hasn't, that's okay. Just make sure that you have a good list of the reports that are most important and start from most important and then work your way down. For data schemas, you may need to get with your data engineering teams to talk to them about what the differences are and explain how those pipelines may need to change and also what metrics are changing and how. And the other thing that we really want to focus on is actually using this data as quickly as possible. There's a few different reasons why this is super beneficial. One is almost all digital analytics platforms are underutilized, and when you have a major change like this, there's already attention and energy around that new platform. Taking advantage of it to make sure you utilize the data is really essential to marking it off as a success when it comes to a migration. Also, it gives you an opportunity to get a feel for the new platform faster and intentionally explore how the reports and the data is different. GA4 is very different in its core reports. It also has some really nice features. Your analysts may be delighted by the usage of the Explore reports and find some really great ways to use that from the get-go. Since switching tools doesn't necessarily have any inherent value, and you most likely didn't save money doing this migration, if you can find some things that you can make business decisions on in your data, that's going to be a great win for your organization. I have a few examples within this blog. I'll touch on some of them. The nice thing about GA4 is it makes things like screenflow analyses a little bit easier. There's still some difficulties in visualizing these, but it's easier to build different funnels than it was in Universal Analytics. Building funnels for some of your key pages is a great way to identify drop-offs and places to then run A/B tests. Creating improved reporting as a whole is another huge factor. If you are going to go in and update these reports anyways, you might as well consider whether you can improve the structure of your reporting to be more useful to your users. There's obviously some other steps that go beyond this, but really if you nail those first 4 steps and focus on those areas, you're going to have a more strategic migration over to GA4 and hopefully a transition period where your organization looks at your analytics team and feels confident in the data and information that you're providing.